You are listening to Gameday Tarps podcast with Riley, Dakota, and Dallas.
Welcome back to Gameday Tarps. This is our NHL trade deadline special. What a week, boys. I mean, Dakpar, your team made a ton of trades. Dallas, your team made a ton of trades. And the Lightning made a few trades. And Dallas, both your teams, Pittsburgh and Colorado, they made a ton of trades. So let's
They've been
get into
busy.
it. Yeah, man. Oh,
One for better, one for worse.
I think we're covering 50 trades tonight. I think is around the number. I don't know the exact number, but it's around 50 after the 23 that were made today on trade deadline. So we're going to jump all the way back to the first trade that started this off. It was Nikita Zadorov to the Vancouver Canucks with the Calgary Flames, receiving a fifth-round selection in 2024 and a third-round pick in 2026. So there we have it. Calgary, like we just mentioned, was in it. Let's just hear. I know we kind of talked about it before, but starting things off, Dakota, what do you think? Did this trade lead to the kind of the downfall of where the Flames ended up, or do you think it was the Lindholm trade after this one?
I don't know. The difference between Lindholm and Zadorov is Zadorov made it known that he wanted out.
True.
And they just jumped the gun immediately to trade him. And I think Lindholm, I don't know. It looked like he wanted out just from his actions more so than his words.
Yeah.
But, I mean, everyone wanted them to get prospects and picks. He did exactly that. But no one's happy with the prospects and picks that he got.
Yeah, and I think, let's almost do like a full Calgary wrap-up when we do the last Calgary trade, and then we can kind of talk about it and then like really give a full context breakdown. But I know what you mean. Like he did what he went out to do. He just definitely didn't get the value that most people wanted him to get, for sure. Let's jump to the next trade after that, which was one right out of the blue that nobody really saw coming. It was Jamie Drysdale to the Philadelphia Flyers with a second-round pick for Cutter Gauthier. So another one, again, that was the first one kind of out of the blue. We just had another one player for player just yesterday that we'll get into in a little while, the Byram Middlestat trade. But, Jamie Drysdale, that kind of started things off like, oh, okay, here's a pretty big deal in terms of prospect for prospect, even though Drysdale has been in the league, moving him out. All right, and then, jump into the Lindholm trade. Calgary received a first-round pick and a conditional fourth-round selection with defenseman Hunter Brushewitz and prospect Yoni Urmo, and as well Andrei Kuzmenko. So how do you think that one's working out? How do you think Kuzmenko's playing? How do you think Lindholm's doing there, considering we heard he almost got traded? Not very well.
I think in terms of all the trades that Calgary's done this year, that's probably by far their best. Well, maybe the Sharon Govich trade is still number one at this point, but this one would be like a solid number two. Kuzmenko's hit and miss. Lindholm is also hit and miss with Vancouver, so they're not really they're pretty much doing the exact same thing that they were doing on their original teams regardless. The one thing about this trade that is nice is that it's a first-round pick in return that has no conditions on it.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a lot of picks that have been going around recently will have conditions, and ridiculous conditions. So that the fact that they were able to get a 2024 first round out of Vancouver is solid. An unsigned defenseman that is a threat in the OHL right now. Hopefully he signs. And then, I think they got a second-round pick in that as well.
Yeah, first and a conditional fourth, and then Brushewitz and Yoni Urmo were the prospects.
Right. Yeah, it's a decent return, all in all.
considering he's underperforming, you're absolutely right when you say this was. I think this was the best trade because Sharon Govich always had upside, but he was stuffed down the lineup in New Jersey. They had really good wingers. They had good forwards. He was always third or second line, not playing with Jack Hughes type deal. He came to Calgary and they've just given him first line minutes or second line, but with really good players. And just look at what it's done for his career. I mean, they literally said it yesterday, or whatever day it was when the Lightning played. They were playing against Calgary. It was the day that Hannafin was supposed to go to the Lightning. And right at the beginning of the broadcast, they said, Lightning have to watch out for Sharon Govich. This guy loves to play well against them. And then he finishes with 2 goals and 2 assists. Like, just dominant performance from him.
Just torched your Lightning.
Exactly. So I do agree that he's done fantastic. But in terms of the best trade for me, it is definitely the Lindholm trade for you guys.
And I mean, I guess we'll get into it later, but the fact that Toffoli has already been traded again, at this point you could say Calgary has won that trade unless the picks that Winnipeg offered New Jersey turn out to be just absolute studs down the road. As of right now, I think Calgary won that trade.
You know, I think it's worth talking about that everyone that you guys had traded before this week was in trade talks. Zadorov was in talks to be moved if they needed to. Lindholm was in talks to be moved, and Toffoli did get moved. So you guys got assets from teams that are literally moving these guys on, or almost did in Vancouver's case.
Yeah, so I mean, they're not doing too bad, I guess, at this point.
That's true. Ex-Flame, Sean Monahan was traded from the Montreal Canadiens to the Winnipeg Jets, and in return, Montreal received a first-round pick and a conditional third-round pick in 2027. 2024 was the first-round pick. So that trade has worked out really well. Sean Monahan has flourished in Winnipeg. He's really helped that team get to where they are in the standings, and I see it as one of the best ads of the year. And Montreal getting 2 first-round picks, like we mentioned, from Calgary and from from Winnipeg. Probably the best asset management we've seen of one single player in the last 5 years.
True.
And then, we have the next one was one of the best potential upside trades that have worked. You don't often see this when you see 2 fringe NHL players get traded and then both of them have fantastic starts with their new teams. But the Columbus Blue Jackets traded Emil Bemstrom to the Pittsburgh Penguins for Alexander Nylander and a conditional 6th-round pick. And honestly, this could not have gone better for these teams. Both Bemstrom and Nylander are having career starts on these teams. And, hearing Alexander Nylander scored his hat trick, and he has more hat tricks than William Nylander does this year. I know William Nylander's killing it. We're not saying he's a better player, but the fact that he's already got more hat tricks than his brother William Nylander is just crazy to hear. It's such a quick start with Columbus.
Sorry.
I'll go ahead.
No, that's, I guess, like one upside you could say Columbus has this year.
I mean, Columbus, you can get the ice time. There's no question. With their struggles, and a lot of their star players are like Adam Fantilli, for example, like you're going to get guaranteed ice time there. And for Alexander Nylander, boy, is he having the ice time there. Because now he's got, 5 goals since joining the Columbus Blue Jackets, and he's hardly had any points with Pittsburgh. Mainly because they decided to let him rot in the AHL and hardly ever get him some ice time. Now you look at the Penguins roster today, and they got so many guys they had to call up from the AHL who are not even worth looking at. Like, don't get me wrong, like, they deserve to be in the show. They've been hustling, they've been working hard, but there's no big name prospects up in the show right now for them. There are a lot of, like, low mid-tier guys. And then so it's like this is the case when, you try to go all in and you just let the top prospects rot in the minors. They flourish elsewhere. So it's just going to backfire right in your face.
7 points in 7 games from Nylander. That, 100% point percentage to start out in Columbus. But I heard what you said there, Dallas. You said ice time is free to go in Columbus. I just want to kind of add the subtitle of now. Ice is available in Columbus now. Now that they fired Jarmo Kekalainen, the new general manager is clearly making Pascal Vincent play these young guys, give them a shot. The year's over. Quit playing veterans over these young guys, and it's good to see now that this has been a change. So hopefully Nylander can continue to flourish.
The only true veterans that should be honestly out there every night is either Boone Jenner and Zach Werenski. That is it.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, start getting these new faces up there and proving themselves that they belong at the NHL level.
Exactly.
So you're going to say scrap Goudreau and scrap Line there, bud?
You're right. I
Well,
forgot.
Line's been out, but Goudreau, I understand.
Yeah.
Ivan Provorov, I seen a report that Tampa Bay was going to be targeting him, but obviously that didn't happen.
There's about 6 teams that target. I bet that they wanted a first-round pick, though. There's just no way that Tampa could do that.
Yeah, that's a bit much, yeah.
Back to the Flames. Let's jump right back into it. Chris Tanev and Cole Brady to the Dallas Stars. Calgary receives Artem Grushnikov, a second-round pick in 2024 and a conditional third-round pick in 2024. And New Jersey retained cap on that, so they acquired a fourth-round pick in 2026 for their help in this trade. And Calgary retained 50% of the contract. And the condition on the third-round pick is if the Stars do not advance to the Stanley Cup Final, the Flames will not receive a third-round pick. So you can kiss that third-round pick goodbye. Because the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche have a lot to say about this year's trade deadline.
I don't know. I think Boston's going to have or not Boston. Dallas is still going to be a scary team to play in the playoffs, though.
Oh, they will for sure. But when Mark Stone just heals his spleen on day one of the playoffs and Hurdle comes back from his knee injury, they have 3 first lines in Vegas. Like we'll go over that again.
Vegas is insane. Like it's ridiculous to see that they're. I don't know. It's mind-boggling what they do.
They have 8 top 4 defensemen, 3 first lines, and 2 starting goaltenders. You couldn't be in a better situation if you're the Vegas Golden Knights. But again, we'll go over that at the end. But I think that's going to be hard to get that third-round pick out of Dallas now. They could do it because they're a heck of a team, but it's going to be a battle for them. We had more of a minor deal from your Colorado Avalanche, Dallas. We had McDermott go to the Devils in exchange for a 7th-round pick. It was previously acquired from Nashville. So, as we know now, this was definitely a salary cap opening trade because they made a lot of moves. But what were your thoughts on just quickly shedding McDermott now that you know the moves that they did make?
Was for salary cap purposes. I mean, the pick is all right. I mean, Curtis McDermott was nothing crazy, so I'm going to keep it short and simple. I mean, yeah, that's the way I see it is just the start of the beginning of this week's whirlwind of a trade deadline for Colorado.
Mm-hmm. And it all started on Wednesday. And here we are. Wednesday, we got just a flood of about 5 major trades, and it just continued on. So it started with the Vegas Golden Knights acquiring Anthony Mantha, 50% contract retained for a 2024 second-round pick and 2020, what was that, 5 or 6? 2026 fourth-round pick. And, so that was able to leave Vegas with $4.4 million in usable space on their LTIR still. As we know, they made multiple trades, but adding Anthony Mantha, I mean, I didn't know he had 20 goals this year. Adding another 20-goal scorer to the Vegas Golden Knights, are you kidding me? At 50% discount. Like, I just want to remind everyone this early on. The Vegas Golden Knights finished this trade deadline with their 2024 first-round draft pick.
And the trade of the day, I think, that is an absolute steal, which I think is almost criminal. And we'll get into it, obviously, but just the whole Thomas Hurdle thing, and they still walked away with a 2024 first, which is crazy.
You know who didn't walk away with a 2025 first, though? Calgary.
Mad unfortunate.
Yeah. Better hope they start the dumpster fire in 2026, boys.
Yeah.
But oh yeah. So you guys can draft Gavin McKenna. But it's just like, why though? Like, Hurdle wasn't really talked about much on the trade bait board, but like now you see him move into Vegas, Sin City. But it's like, wait,
Hurdle's been trade talked for like 3 years straight, dude.
well, it wasn't
But
ramped
this,
When he
up
signed that,
as
when he signed that
much.
7-year deal, no one thought they could move him for his cap hit. They were like, "Oh, that's it. He's stuck now." Because this is his first year of his 7-year deal that he
Which
signed.
is whack, yeah. Because then, yeah, they can't sign Noah Hannafin next year because they're stuck with term with Hurdle. So,
Well, that's the
yikes.
great thing. Anthony Mantha, free agent. Hannafin, free agent. Jonathan Marchessault, free agent. They're going to have some tough decisions to make now that they added Hurdle, who I wouldn't necessarily say is better than Marchessault or better than keeping Hannafin, or well, he's better than keeping Mantha, but like,
But
well,
what they
the stupid
acquired
thing
for him, wow.
the stupid thing is though is that they're still having contract extension talks with Hannafin,
mm-hmm.
and I guess they're in the ballpark of like 8 years, 7 mil a year is potentially
Yeah,
what they're offering.
I'm just going to throw this out there wild. If they want to keep Hannafin, I see them trading Petrangelo.
You'd
He'll be
almost
like
have to.
he'll be like 34. Yeah, he's a great leader and he's a great veteran, but 26-year-old Hannafin, 34-year-old Petrangelo,
27-year-old
sorry,
Hannafin.
27-year-old
Like, are we
Hannafin.
talking like a sign-in trade maybe?
No. Trade Petrangelo away, then sign Hannafin with
Hannafin.
Petrangelo's money.
Keep
Yeah,
keep the younger defenseman. Yeah, that's fair.
exactly. He fits their core perfectly. So him and Shea Theodore on the left side, top two pairs. That's pretty sweet. And then they have White Cloud, they have McNabb, so they have guys who can fill in just fine. That lets Nick Hag come back because somehow Nick Hag isn't in their top 6D. They have Alec Martinez. Like, again, we have to talk about Vegas at the end, but everything throughout this day through these days is literally revolving around Vegas and how good they've gotten. So they're going to come up basically this whole episode. Let's jump to the East. We got Ottawa retaining 50% on Vladimir Tarasenko, and they send him to Florida for a conditional 2024 fourth round pick and a 2025 third round pick. The condition, which becomes a 2026 third round pick if the Panthers win the Stanley Cup. Again, good luck getting that pick.
I'm gonna rate this trade right off the bat. That's a D grade for me, an absolute D minus actually. Like, when you have to retain 50% of the contract and get just shoved in the face with a fourth round pick on top of that is like the highest you're gonna get. What are you doing in Ottawa, man? Like, you're not like, I get he's a UFA, but still, like, you're undermining the value of your players, and this is what this whole deadline was: is that teams, especially the Canadian market, I'm sorry to say, were just undermining the value of their guys and just getting jack shit for it. Like, it's
You know
so
what?
wild.
I'm going to completely contradict you. I'm going to give this a B plus. You got to
Really,
remember, Tarasenko.
for Florida, I'd
Tarasenko
give it a
was
B
signed.
plus. They fleeced them.
Tarasenko was signed in the preseason. No one wanted Vladimir Tarasenko for free. They could have given him money, not given up assets. No team in the NHL wanted Vladimir Tarasenko. He signed with Ottawa last minute. Somehow they gave him $5 million, which was ridiculous. That I give them an F on. Either way, for a guy nobody wanted, they got a third round pick in 2025 and then a fourth round pick that could turn into a third round pick. So they could get 2 third round picks for a guy that nobody wanted. That to me, like that's the new management, right? The new management doing smart plays this year with what they got. And I think it was a great call. They knew that he was going to be flipped when they signed him. They're like, whatever, he'll score 15 goals. We'll show he's a goal scorer and he'll go to a team that needs goal scoring. What does Florida have? They have grit, they have great skill players, and they have Sam Reinhart only as their true goal scorer. Now they have Tarasenko. So for me, that's a B plus for Florida, who didn't really need to add anything, and they went out and just got a second, third line goal scorer. So I'm going B
Wow.
plus, and for Ottawa, I go A plus. Why not?
Way to give the Senators some, something to cheer for now. You're just hyping them up, man. You
Hopefully.
don't need it.
They got to turn the corner at some point, you hope.
Some point.
I mean, Ottawa thought that this year was their turning point.
True.
What a disappointment that's been.
Oh, it's been a shit
The
show.
whole Eastern Conference stayed the same when everyone thought it was going to flip.
The West has been elite all year, and it's going to stay that way.
Yeah. They have. Let's stay in the West with your Avalanche. I guess it's the West and the East, because this was probably Colorado's most impactful trade, not their biggest trade, but their most impactful trade. They add Sean Walker and a 2026 fifth-round pick for Ryan Johansson and a 2025 first-round pick conditional. It is 2025 top 10 protected. If the Avalanche do fall to the top 10, it will slide to 2026. Ryan Johansson, who's owed $4 million next season, was immediately waived upon the deal's completion, and he was not traded before the deadline ended. So we have no idea what the future holds for Ryan Johansson. But once again, great cap shedding by the Avalanche, great addition. And yeah, what is your thoughts, Dally? What do you think on Sean Walker, who's a fantastic defenseman this year?
I mean, he's good at eating up penalty minutes on the PK, but I think the moral of the story here was that I personally believe he wasn't worth a first. However, with that said, yes, he's a good defenseman, but I think the whole point of this was to free up even more salary cap, so Colorado could have been keeping on with the deadline trend of trying to be the busiest team out of anybody. Because if you think of it, like Ryan Johansson, he wasn't really worth the $4 million. Like he's not the Ryan Johansson from his Columbus days or his Nashville days anymore. Still a great player, but he's not what he used to be anymore. And if he's not going to continue with Philly, so be it. You know, he's reported to Lehigh Valley Phantoms of the American Hockey League, and now he's Philly's problem. But I watched Sean Walker play tonight. He was on a line with Samuel Girard. I mean, I'm liking what I'm seeing at a first glance. So yeah, not too disappointed. But I mean, I'd give that trade a B plus.
Remember we were just talking about with Sean Monahan? For Calgary to ditch Sean Monahan's contract, they had to give a first-round pick to the Montreal Canadiens. You guys got top 3 available defensemen at the trade deadline, and ditch $4 million in cap, and only give up a first-round pick.
See,
and you protected it. Top 10.
Yeah, see, and this is the thing, though. It's like, I know we're still in win now mode, but dude, the 2024 draft is deep, though. Like, even if we have a late, 25 to 32 pick, whatever, there are going to be some great available players. It wasn't the
players. 2024 draft. It's the 2025.
Oh, sorry, 2025. Draft. Oh shit! Well, still, it's the Luke Misa or the Michael Misa draft, and then there's Reed Schaefer. Lot of guys
not
coming up.
Michael Misa.
No.
But here's the thing: it's top 10 protected. So say you somehow Colorado falls to first overall for Misa, if that is who goes, you get him, and then the pick slides to 2026.
Oh, that's the condition. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then you guys slide to last place then and give up Gavin McKenna. No big deal.
Yeah, not a big deal. You guys don't need Mac and Mac, all right? There's enough Macs in Colorado.
Sorry, I thought I heard you say 2024, but no, yeah, 2025.
Yeah, 2025.
Still, I mean, it's a weaker draft than this year, but
yeah,
it's just so hard giving up first round picks these days.
Dude, I don't know what is the value? When you guys just joined the call, I was watching the interview about Vegas's Kelly McCrimmon. He literally sees his first round picks just as trades. He was like, credit to our scouts who drafted 2023 prospect who we traded away. Credit last year we drafted Zach Dean in 2022. Credit that we traded him for Ivan Barbashev. Credit our scouting staff for finding players that we can get the most value out of a trade season. that's the way to think about it. What does a first overall pick do for the not first overall, but first round
First
pick do
round.
for the Vegas Golden Knights? What does first round pick do for the Vegas Golden Knights?
Absolutely nothing.
Plays in 5 years when they aren't winning the cup anymore. Like, what's the point? Might as well trade him. That's like Tampa when everyone's like, "Oh, Tampa's trading so much." I'm like, I love draft picks. I was for 10 years it was exciting. Who's Tampa taking first round? Stamkos, Hedman, Nemesnikov, whoever else, right? Kucherov the second round. Wow, these guys were getting. But now it's like, okay, the team is built. You don't need to care about the next wave of kids. You need the team now that you spent the last 10 years building to win. So
See,
screw
and
that kid.
here's where it differs from you two. From my perspective, I'm looking at Dakota thinking, okay, his team and himself as a fan, he wants that 2024 first. You as a Lightning fan, you guys are in win now mode. You're not really too keen on a 2024 first. You're going to want to flip that to get someone who's going to help you do a deep playoff push. Dakota knows that Calgary is probably not making playoffs, and he's stated it time and time again. He wants a high end draft pick. So I guess it varies from your team's needs and what the fans expect, right? If they know the season's just going downhill, look forward to the draft. And it's exciting. I always love watching the NHL draft. And, it's even more exciting when the player that you want, that you've been keeping an eye on, your team drafts him, and it's unreal. Like I remember Dakota at the 2020 draft, he was wanting Connor Zary. Calgary drafted him. And who are you wanting this
Yeah.
year, Dakota? Put that energy out there, man.
Huge.
Yeah, dude, we gotta bring
TJ
Iggy
Ginla.
home, dude.
Exactly. So
But
But the higher ups,
projected to go.
the
Yeah.
owners don't want that. They think they're like, no, we need a playoff push. No, you don't, man.
yeah.
And he's killing it for Kelowna this year, and he's gonna go probably top 15.
Yeah. But my point of perspective is like the actual NHL general managers, the overvalued first round pick. It like 50% of first round picks don't even play 100 NHL games. So you have a 1 in 2 chance, basically mostly from pick 15 to pick 30, that your player is going to actually turn into a solid NHL player. And that's so what? You're holding on to that, you're avoiding getting, let's just call it Noah Hannafin, okay? You're avoiding getting Noah Hannafin because your first round pick is so valuable this year. No, Noah Hannafin's a top 30 defenseman in the NHL. Like, you go get Noah Hannafin. You don't wait to hold on to that just because you want to. Like, it makes no sense, the overvaluation these general managers have. And I want to say this too. Lou Lamoriello, the New York Islanders, there we go.
Yeah.
4 straight trade deadlines, Lou Lamoriello has made 0 trades. And look at the Islanders. Look at what is he holding on to assets for? They're the oldest team in the NHL. It's not like he has time to wait for an 18-year-old to catch up to 34-year-olds. Like, or second oldest, sorry, because Pittsburgh. But you know what I mean? Like, what is Lou Lamoriello waiting for? After this year, he should be gone. Axe him out of the Islanders.
He's too confident in his group, but what GM is or isn't, right? I mean, if he feels that his pride in his team is well earned, then I guess he just ain't gonna make another move. But like, it's gonna backfire and bite him in the ass once they get in the playoffs. They'll probably get smoked by either the Boston Bruins
They're
or the
not even in
Tampa
the
Bay
playoffs.
Lightning. No,
They're
if
not
they
in the
do,
playoffs. Oh,
if they do,
okay.
if they do,
But
that's what I'm saying. But then
on Bleacher
it'll be
Report,
even
John
worse if they
Scott was
don't
on
make
there.
it.
Yeah.
What's up?
And John Scott was on there on Bleacher Report. He was like, I don't know, the guest speaker. And John Scott just led into him. Like, good job, Lou. You're the oldest team in the league. You're out of a playoff spot, and you didn't even make a move. Not a cap-shedding move, not to add to help your team. Just hope that they make it to the playoffs.
All they did within the last 3 years is get Bo Horvat, and look how well that works out for you there, boss. Lou Lamoriello is more worried about having guys with a shaved face and no beard than actually trying to build his team to be Stanley Cup contenders. That's what he's more worried about as an outside perspective, and it's pretty freaking bad.
It's embarrassing.
Long Island,
let's
boys.
get into Long Island, loser nation.
Loser
We
Nation.
have the most complicated trade. Bear with me here because this trade has so much going on in it. This is the Edmonton Anaheim trade. So, to Edmonton, Adam Henrique, Sam Carrick, goalie Ty Taylor, and a 2024 seventh round pick from Tampa Bay. Ty Taylor's rights were with Tampa Bay. To Anaheim, a 2024 first round pick from Edmonton, 2025 fifth round pick conditional from Tampa Bay, and then to Tampa, a 2025 fourth round pick conditional. The Ducks retain 50% of Henrique, and Tampa Bay retains an additional 25% or 50% of what was left of Henrique's deal. So here was how this trade broke down. First deal is the Ducks trading Henrique with 50% of his salary retained to the Lightning for Ty Taylor. The second deal is Adam Henrique with another 50% retained of his remaining contract to the Oilers for a conditional fourth round pick in 2026. The final move was the Oilers acquire Sam Carrick, Ty Taylor, and a seventh round pick in 2024 in exchange for their 2024 first and conditional fifth round pick in 2025. So the conditions are if the Oilers win the Stanley Cup, the fifth round pick to Anaheim becomes a fourth round pick. And if the Oilers do not win the Stanley Cup, their 2026 fourth round pick going to the Lightning becomes the Oilers' 2025 fourth round pick. So there we have it. That was the most complicated, condition riddled, biggest trade of the deadline so far. But I like it. I think that's kind of what Edmonton needed. They got a steady defenseman who fought his first game versus Matthew Olivier, and Adam Henrique, who's a fantastic centerman if you're putting him in the position that they will be, which is like third line. That allows Ryan Nugent-Hopkins to come up.
I'm pretty sure I noticed he played left wing on Draisaitl's line.
Or he could play left wing too. He does both. So whether you want him or Nugent-Hopkins, I feel like, because they both do left wing or center, so you can kind of find which one does which. But
I think come playoff time, you're going to want Henrique to be a center guy because he's usually at a 50% or on faceoffs, and they're going to need that in the playoffs, I think. So maybe for now they're testing out wing, but I think playoffs they should play him at center.
Same here. I mean, I know it's hard. Like, you want your lines to be as balanced as possible, but if the Oilers run a four-line center of McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins, Henrique, like that is a deadly team to play against. Yes, you need some winger depth, which they kind of struggle with, the Connor Browns and whatnot. But at least if you're winning faceoffs 60% of the time, you have a high chance to win these games in the playoffs. Okay, Dallas, we're going to give you the reins on this one because this was your heartbreak trade, your sad trade of the day. Bowen Byram to the Buffalo Sabres for Casey Middlestat to the Colorado Avalanche. Give us your thoughts on that.
Like, okay, you're trading away a defenseman who's had 20 points in his first 55 contests with Colorado this year, okay? Nothing too glamorous standing out. But I've always loved Bowen Byram. He was always a heart and hustle kind of guy out there. He's under the age of 25 too. Like he's a young defenseman. He still has a lot to learn, but he's excellent out there. Okay, his penalty killing. He doesn't score a whole lot, but when he does, he gets a lot of multi-goal games. He had a lot of great highlights when he was in the Western Hockey League for the Vancouver Giants, and it was pretty cool having him get selected by Colorado. But trading for a middle third line now forward and Casey Middlestat, he has a better record within his first 62 contests this season. He has 47 points with Buffalo, but I'm going to rate this trade maybe a C, but Colorado wants more scoring up front, right? So, because they're already loaded. They're already loaded on the blue line, so, all the best for Byram. And he even scored his first game for Buffalo, which was nuts, on UC Soros in Nashville. Just an absolute chino over the glove. But, all the best to Bowen and Buffalo. He got to reunite for one game with Eric Johnson, a longtime Colorado Avalanche blue liner and teammate, and then he got shipped off today, actually. But, we'll have to see. It's only been one game. against Minnesota tonight for Casey Middlestat with his new club, so I can't really debate the trade too much, but I was definitely heartbroken by this one. Definitely a blindside. Nowhere, anywhere did any fans expect that he was going to be shipped or even shopped around by other teams. Absolutely blindsided. Keyword in this whole thing, blindsided.
I wouldn't say blindsided. I think Bowen Byram was definitely a movable piece for Colorado, but I do think Buffalo won that trade 100%.
100% they did.
You made Buffalo. They're going to have a scary defense for years to come now. They're young. Buffalo's gotten more exciting to watch over the last couple of years. I don't see Middlestat helping Colorado much at all.
No, he's on the third line now with Duran and Trennan.
And you know what? He's going to produce as much as Duran has last season, I bet. And even this season, I don't see him helping out a whole lot. He'll be on the board here and there, but he's not going to be a significant change to that lineup, I don't think.
No, and I totally agree. Buffalo has won this trade fair and square. They have 4 elite defensemen under the age of 25. Samuelson, Owen Power, Rasmus Dahlin, and now in the likes of Bowen Byram. Like, they are scary and on the back end.
And Yoki
I'm sure he's 23.
Yeah.
So, everyone under the age of 25, they have an elite defense core, which is nuts. Watch out.
I was sad because literally it was 30 minutes before this trade happened when you guys got Sean Walker. I was like, man, you guys literally have a mini Devon Tays and Cale Makar with Walker and Byram on the second pair. I was so pumped for Colorado to have that. And then he was traded away. So now you have, I guess, like you said, Walker and Girard. But at the same time, I see Colorado's reasoning. They can't risk Bowen Byram's injury history anymore.
And he was hurt this year too. Yeah.
Exactly. They need an impact player. They needed someone who was going to help their team now. They felt like they shored up their D with Sean Walker, and they felt like Bowen Byram's injury history was good to get out of now. And I bet you Buffalo came calling. Buffalo probably was like, hey, you want Casey Middlestat? Here's Bowen Byram. And they were probably like, oh, all right, sure. Yeah, we actually do. And the rest is history. Or maybe Colorado made the call because they did just acquire Walker. But
and at the end of the day, Colorado now has 2.1 million in cap space after the deadline still. So I would guess it's a bit of a success, but you're still losing a good defenseman. Sean Walker, he was paired up with Sammy G on the second pairing, so he wasn't out there for the power play at all. But we'll see. Like I said with the other trade, you have to see. It's only been one game. You can't debate anything just yet.
True.
You got to get adjusted to your new teammates.
So from Dallas's heartbreak trade to Dakota's heartbreak trade. Right after that, we have Vegas Golden Knights acquiring Noah Hannafin, 75% retained. The Flames get a conditional 2025 first-round pick, Daniil Miramanov, and a conditional third-round pick. And the Flyers got a 2024 fifth-round pick. So we now know that as things have happened, the condition on the 2025 has kicked in, that Calgary got the 2025 unless Vegas traded it in a previous trade. And that did happen. So now Calgary gets Vegas's 2026 draft pick in the first round. But great news for Calgary fans that just came out, fully unprotected 2026 draft pick. So unlikely anything bad happens to Vegas's record come 2026. But if it does, unprotected first round pick going to the Calgary Flames. And the condition on the third is it upgrades to a second if Vegas wins only one round. So really, this could turn into a top 10 draft pick and a second round pick in 2024. So it could turn out okay. It was looking bleak in the beginning.
25.
The third upgrades to a second. Oh, sorry. It was win one round in 2024. Sorry. Thank you. You're right. 2025 pick for the third. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's much of a heartbreak as much as it's a trade that didn't exactly make too much sense. But I mean, Hannafin had the upper hand in this whole market, I think. He came down with 2 desired teams, and I mean, and to those 2 teams, you weren't going to get a whole lot in return. I don't think Tampa doesn't really have anything that Calgary wanted too much. I'm not sure what Florida was offering, or even if they offered anything. The weird thing is that Vegas wasn't even a team until the day he got traded, and it was an hour later after they jumped in the mix that, like, boom, the trade went through. So,
It was so late that Kelly McCrimmon, the manager for Vegas, literally just announced tonight that the Hurdle trade was already in motion. That's why the 2025 pick wasn't guaranteed, because that was a must-have for San Jose to get Hurdle. So that's how far back the Hurdle trade went, that Hannafin's trade ended up the way that it did.
yeah, I don't know. I still just think it seemed a little bit forced, fast. You're not exactly getting the value you probably want out of it. And all the trades that Conroy made are kind of trades that you're not going to know if they're wins until, I don't know, let's just say 5 years down the road.
Yeah.
And that totally falls on Calgary's like owners though too. You and I were talking a lot about it earlier, Dakota. Like I don't think you can fully blame Conroy, but like when you have the owners coming to management and saying like, botch this, don't do this, like you're killing your team, man. Like you're not utilizing the full potential of certain trades. Like I get value does drop or rises, but still like that's kind of a bad move and a bad look on the owner's perspective, right? From the fans at least, because it's like you have no trust in your general managers or nothing, you know?
Well, on the Markstrom front, I'll just say this quick: like with them saying no to a Markstrom trade as the Flames ownership, like how I don't know how they say no. Look at all the trades we've just covered. That's 3 top 6 defensemen, their top line center, and a top 6 winger into Foley, all traded this season. 5 NHL rostered players, all from the top half of your skill level on your team, all gone. And then we talk about Goudreau leaving, Kachuk leaving. How did they think that Markstrom is so valuable that he's going to save this team from the depletion it just got? Like, I don't understand their thought process on that. Let everyone else go, but make sure this guy doesn't go.
Well, no, and you're gonna drop his value insanely because now he's got no defense. 2 of your top 4 defenders are now gone. One of them being one of the top defensive defenders. Markstrom's got no help on the back end anymore.
The only way his value goes up is if he drags them into the playoffs, which isn't going to happen. And I'm sorry to any Flames fans out there, because I know you know this, Dak, but they're not going to win now. There's just no way. They don't have the roster to win. Like, when we thought Nick Hagg was the return in this trade, we were like, yes, a good quality defender. We literally said they finally got good value in a trade, and then all of a sudden it comes out no Hagg, and it just immediately lost the value.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the one saving grace I think about this team is, I think come off season they'll have around 20 something mil in cap space now, which is nice.
Calgary Blackhawks?
Hopefully not.
Well, in terms of cap space, at least, you guys can go
Yeah.
crazy in free agency with all that cap availability, right?
Yeah, you know who could be there? No, Hannafin. You guys should probably go for him.
Could you imagine, dude, getting Hannafin back?
I mean, at
Fuck,
least
even Jake
then your
Gensel maybe
assets
even too.
are worth it.
Elias Lindholm?
Yeah, just sign everyone back.
Trade
Did you
bait
guys
again.
see, actually? So in Hannafin's first game in Vegas, they were playing Vancouver. And so Lindholm and Hannafin drafted together in Carolina, played together in Carolina, both traded together to Calgary, played together in Calgary. Their first game, well, not Lindholm's first game, but their first game versus each other on separate teams, is Canucks versus Golden Knights, and a fight started out, and Hannafin and Lindholm grabbed each other and were like scrumming it up. So either they just got tired of each other and really didn't like each other, or they were just, being hockey players. And
Like, hey, let's just hold on to each other and act like we're gonna fight. What's up, bro?
exactly. I mean, that happens like at center ice last night. There was a big fight in Boston, Toronto, and Swayman went to the blue line or the red line to try and fight Justin Wall, and he said, "Oh, he's my buddy and I like him," but I mean, everyone was fighting, so like maybe they were just having that kind of a moment. But yeah, either way, I mean, things have gone crazy for Calgary, and they need to get in that top 10 pick. Honestly, that's their best case scenario. Because I saw a mock draft and Teach went one pick before Calgary.
The one I seen, he went 2 picks.
Sorry, 2 picks. You're right.
But again, it could they could trade up, but now your only asset really is Markstrom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I guess you can move up with the picks you acquired, I guess, too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think my goal right now would be as a GM is you go to your advisor and you're like, hey, how cool would it be to draft your son? I think that's the only thing I'd want to do at this point.
Yeah, and let him probably go up on the stage and make the call because it is the last live draft in NHL history. So what a cool story that would be.
Which sucks.
It does.
Well, I mean, at least it's in Vegas at the Sphere.
Where the 2-time back-to-back Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights will be hoisting the cup this year. All right. Trade. I actually wanted this guy for Tampa, but he didn't end up going there. We had Joel Edmondson go to the Toronto Maple Leafs for a 3rd round and a 5th round pick. So 2024 3rd and 2025 5th. It's 50% retained. So he only has $875K on his contract. He's won a cup in 2019, and to make this cap work, Toronto moved Connor Timmins from IR to LTIR. So I think that's a solid signing. I think Joel Edmondson's a great defenseman, ex-Blazer. Shout him out for us here in Kamloops. He only played here 1 season, but he was a heck of a player, and he has continued to be. But, yeah, I'm sad Tampa missed out on this one. All right. Kind of a small trade, a guy who's been passed around a bunch. Anthony Beauvillier goes to Nashville for a 2024 5th-round pick to the Blackhawks. So not a very major deal, but Beauvillier can't seem to, unfortunately, find a home, which sucks for him. He's been moved around a lot. Minor trade, an actual minor trade. We had Jacob Perreault and Jan Mysak swapped, or Jan Mysak, however you want to say it, from Montreal to Anaheim. Perreault to Montreal, Mysak to Anaheim. So not much to really comment on there. They're both 2020 draft picks from what I understand, and they just a swap. For whatever reason, these teams decided to do that. And the Oilers got in on the action again. They added Troy Stetcher and a 2024 7th-round pick in exchange to Arizona, a 2027 4th-round pick. Today was the first day where we started seeing 2027 draft picks traded. I was like, well, okay. Guys are going deep into the cupboards here to get these trades done.
And I honestly think that's a hell of a signing. Stetcher played phenomenal when he was in Calgary. I wish he was the guy that we re-signed. He'd be great on the team right now, I think. Mm-hmm. So I think he definitely helps Edmonton's blue line tremendously. He's got a little bit of an offensive flair to him, and he's good defensively. So,
yeah. We had Minnesota trade Dewey 1. They also traded Dewey 2, which Minnesota fans are so sad about because Duhaime and Dewar are 2 of their favorite players. But their first trade was trading Brandon Duhaime to the Colorado Avalanche for a 2026 3rd-round pick. So Dallas, throw it back to you. What are your thoughts? First game, Duhaime tonight. Big body, 4th-line checking kind of guy. I think it's going to matter come playoffs. He's a big boy.
Well, first off, I thought it was a steal for a 3rd-round pick, to be honest with you. And, you need the bigger guys. You need the guys that will go out there like a Val Nichushkin, who is going to throw the body around and protect your star players like, Mikko Rantanen and Nathan MacKinnon. So I thought it was a good pickup. Probably one of the favorite ones, in my opinion, that I think is a great acquisition. I wasn't, uh, well, yeah, I was surprised, but it wasn't what I was expecting. But I'm satisfied with it. I thought it was a great pickup by Colorado. And you know what? What better time to have your first game played with your new club facing your former club? And he was throwing the body around against his former teammates, so that was cool to see. He's getting right into it at Ball Arena.
Yeah, he was. And like I heard this today on the Missing Curfew podcast. It was Shane O'Brien talking. And sometimes this just happens. Like maybe Brandon Duhaime wasn't even available. Loved in Minnesota. Great teammate guy. Like you said, he's not a huge impact player, but he has his value. But this was Shane O'Brien's story. He was in Anaheim. They were the top team in the NHL. He's out for lunch with Corey Perry, he said. All of a sudden, he gets a call from a random number, and it's Brian Burke. And Brian Burke's like, hey, you're traded. Just straight up. He's like, look, we didn't want to. They said that they were going to give us a second-round pick. They kept offering. I said no. They said, what's it going to take to get you? And then I said a first, and they gave me a first-round pick. So there we have it. So their teams, sometimes they just offer, and the team says this is what it'll take, and they go okay, and the team goes, well, time to cash in, I guess. So you never
Well,
know when that type of stuff can happen.
you want to talk about the Islanders though too, but like Billy Guerin of Minnesota, like he has been quiet on the phones today. Like they hardly did anything really. Like they want to be a playoff team still, but they as well are in the same boat as the Islanders. They hardly picked up anything to stay competitive. Like what are you
No, they
guys gonna
folded.
do? They
They
folded.
folded.
They
Yeah.
frauds. Like
They made
you
4
claim you
trades.
want to win
Yeah.
and you
They
do
made 4
nothing.
trades today and yesterday because they did Duhaime, Dewar, Pat Maroon, and Nick Patan all traded away
Away,
from
not
Minnesota.
nothing coming
Yeah.
back. Really, you're just
No.
stocking the cupboards. You're not bringing in today's talent to help you win. So I don't know, Bill Guerin. I feel like he knows something. Like yeah, we're probably going to be a fringe wildcard team, if that.
That's
It's a
good to
tough
know now.
Central Division to play in.
And I mean, like, that's good to know now. But now look at all this ice time for more young players. That's 4 forward slots
Matt
gone.
Boldy, Brock Faber, it's perfect. The new stars of the show.
Mm-hmm. All right, keeping it in Avalanche Town. Avalanche acquire Yakov Trenin and the rights to unsigned draft pick Graham Sword in exchange for Jeremy Hansel and a 2025 third-round draft pick. And you mentioned Trenin did play tonight.
Yeah, and they also did just sign Jeremy Hansel out of Seattle Thunderbirds, and then they immediately swapped him for another prospect in the Western Hockey League, an ex-Spokane Chief and current captain of Wenatchee, Graham Sword, which I thought was phenomenal. He's an up-and-coming potential stud on the blue line. For the Colorado Eagles potentially in the next coming years. So yeah, I thought it was a perfect trade. And then getting Jakob
I
Trenin, played the third line tonight. Big body as well.
Oh yeah, he's a banger, that guy. But I found it so funny. You never see a CHL player get signed and traded. I think that's the
Right?
first time ever. Like his rights would have been with Nashville regardless, and Nashville could have signed him, but maybe it could have been for salary cap reasons. If they needed that cap on the books, that maybe could have been it. But
Yeah.
other than that, I'm not seeing why they signed and traded a CHL prospect whose rights were already owned by whoever he got traded to. So that was just funny to me.
Yeah, it could have been just a transactional thing, right? Like you had to have maybe he just couldn't have been unsigned. He had to be signed to be traded. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Restricted contract.
This next one could be one of the best trades of the trade deadline because it's a total shot in the dark. The Leafs announced they acquire unsigned draft pick Cade Weber in exchange for a 2026 sixth-round pick. Weber is a 6'7", 210-pound defenseman at Boston University. So if this guy gets signed at the end of his college season, which is in like 2 weeks, and then he gets added to Toronto's roster, who knows if this kid can play or not at the NHL level. But adding a 6'7", 210-pound defenseman doesn't hurt at all.
6'7", 200 pounds.
6'7", 210.
Jesus.
Not
Here's
bad.
there's a little bit of his scouting card. This is from a guy who watches a lot of BU games. Said, I've watched Cade Weber play about 100 games at BU. He's 6'7". He's physical, shot blocking machine. He skates well and can make the first pass. Well-developed prospect, 100% worth of a 6th-round pick by the Leafs. So, of all the trades, this one could be the sneakiest best ad if he just makes that jump immediately and helps this team in the playoffs. Can you imagine the Leafs getting a 6'7", 210 guy just added out of nowhere? Here, yep, boom. Big ad for the team.
Especially if he started playing like Matt Rempe.
Exactly. What an ad that could be. Matt Rempe, who did just get sent down to the minors today, but it was to guarantee that he could play for Hartford in the AHL playoffs if they needed him to. Because if they didn't send him down, but then they sent him down later in the year, he literally just couldn't play in the playoffs. So they had to send him down for that.
Yeah, I think Calgary just did the same thing with Peltier and Coronado, to be honest.
No, it's Airy, though. That guy's solidified.
He's injured.
Yeah, he's solidified regardless. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Really tiny trade from your Flames here, Dak. Riley Damiani to the Flames for Emilio Pettersson. Any thoughts on that? I have not even heard of Riley Damiani. Obviously, we know Emilio Pettersson. What was he, 7th round? Right, 7th round pick?
He was fairly late, but I don't know. I've liked Pettersson. He was developing well in the organization. So it wasn't exactly a trade that made sense to me, but it also is a trade that I don't really have any sentimental value to, really. So it is what it is, but I did like Pettersson a little bit more. I mean, maybe this Damiani guy's good, but yeah, I haven't followed him too much.
This just starts a weird relationship with you guys in Dallas.
We're getting Stankoven one day, baby.
But you trade Tanev there. Then all of a sudden you guys steal Joel Hanley off waivers. And then now you guys make another minor trade. Like, you know how Tampa had New York? And then Tampa had Detroit when Yzerman went there? Like, Calgary has Dallas. Actually, sorry.
And Vancouver.
Dallas is Tampa Bay in this situation where they're the team winning. And Calgary is like Detroit, who's losing and giving away the players to help them win. Or New York, because New York gave them McDonough and whatnot. And Callahan. Finally, it's my turn. I have a trade. The Lightning get Anthony Duclair and a 2025 7th-round pick in exchange for a 2024 3rd-round pick and defensive prospect Jack Thompson.
And you love this trade, Riley, you were saying.
I love it. Like, don't get me wrong. I love Jack Thompson. He played his first NHL game this year. I was pumped. But he is buried in the minors with no hope of coming up, which is most Tampa prospects these days. You know, if they don't get traded away, they go past the point of being useful. They reach 24, 25 before they get called up, and, you know, their career is kind of at a dead spot. So I was happy to see it. Anthony Duclair is so fast. He's such a skilled player. He was so good for Florida last year on their cup run, and I just couldn't be happier to add this guy. He has some down points this year, but he is playing for the San Jose Sharks, so we won't really worry about that too much. I think he'll come in and be a great ad. The only thing I was disappointed at, which I said to you guys, was that Connor Sheary wasn't going the other direction for cap purposes, just to help open up the cap, but it is what it is. We'll find a way to get rid of Sheary.
Don't feel like, you know, you're being just absolutely cocked with keeping him, because you know what? When Washington thought the same thing back in 2018-19 when they were getting Connor Sheary from Pittsburgh, because, you know, they thought they were going to get back-to-back Cup champion. You know, guy was, you know, sick when he was on the line with Gensel and Sidney Crosby, because, you know, Crosby was feeding the pass every game and he was getting mad points. Connor Sheary has not been the same as a winger since he has departed Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Having Crosby.
He had 2 good years. Last 2 years, he had like 40 points and 37 points. But other than that, yeah, he's been – this year he has – what did I tell you yesterday? Like 11?
He got his second
two
goal.
goals, 9 assists. Yeah,
Yeah.
2 goals, 9 assists. He only scored his second goal. If he was on the Edmonton Oilers, he would be in just as much spotlight as Connor Brown, probably even more because we're paying him for 3 years at $2 million a year. Whereas Connor Brown at least took like a baby deal to join the team. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what Tampa can do to get out of that. But now, probably the big one, the biggest one, the guy that everyone was waiting to see what would happen. Your other heartbreak story, Dallas, your Pittsburgh Penguins, Jake Gensel, he got 25% retained, and Ty Smith there he is. There's the Gens. Ty Smith to Carolina in exchange for Michael Bunting, Ville Koivunen, Vasily Ponomarov, and Cruz Lucius, as well as Carolina's first-round pick in 2024, which is conditional, and Carolina's fifth-round pick in 2024, conditional. I'll read off the conditions here, and then you can break them down. Conditions on the 2024 first-round pick are, if Carolina does not make the Stanley Cup final in 2024, Pens will instead receive Philadelphia's second-round pick in 2024, previously acquired by Carolina. And the conditions on the fifth-round pick are, if Carolina does not win the Stanley Cup in 2024, Pittsburgh will not receive the fifth-round pick in 2024. So the fifth can disappear, and the first can become a second. But either way, they basically ran themselves out of time. When they were saying they wanted 2 first-round picks for Jake Gensel, that the window for 2 first-round picks passed. No one was getting that today. It became a buyer's market, not a seller's market, and the buyers bid low, and the buyers won.
Yep. Well, and then everyone thought that, Vancouver and Boston were in the mix, flip-flopping pieces with Lindholm and Gensel, and then Vancouver fans were just in awe when 12 o'clock Pacific time hit, and, well, they knew ahead of time, the day before when it happened, but, they all thought they were going to get Gensel, right? And he would have looked awesome, in that core and in the Canucks jersey, but Carolina, man? Carolina? Nobody thought in this reality, Carolina was a silent sleeper team in the Jake Gensel sweepstakes. Boy, see you later, buddy.
You know what?
What an absolute...
Odds you burn that on camera right now.
I can't, dude. I love Jake, dude. Multi-season 40-goal scorer, man. Crosby has never had a better winger in his career.
Buddy, I'll do this if you do yours. Buddy,
we'll have to do it short.
I'll even do another one with you, bud.
No way.
I'll burn another one for you, bud.
Dude, might as well get the Dubé one in there too. Do I trifecta?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, there's another.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, dude.
All 3, bud.
Oh, dangerous.
They're going up in flames.
Cancel.
But I want to break this down, but we all saw it coming for a while now because he was the highest pending UFA. He was wanting too much money. Pittsburgh wasn't budging. But the fact that you got one top 10 prospect out of Carolina's pool in Cruz Lucius, okay? That's it. Kyle Dubas is an absolute fraud. Pittsburgh is obsessed with wanting these overhyped Toronto Maple Leaf players. Ron Hainsey, Matt Hunwick, Phil Kessel was the only one in 2015-16 that they signed at a free agency, okay? Only one. And then it's just...
I will tell you, though, Vasily Ponomarov is a fantastic player. He's a great prospect, too.
He's a good prospect, but
I think he's better than Cruz Lucius in terms of prospect value.
Well, don't get me wrong. I'm not excited for Cruz Lucius, but I'm just saying, one out of top 10 rated prospects out of Carolina's pool. You could even get an Alexander Nikishin or even a Bradley Nadeau out of the University of Maine. Those were number 1 and number 6. At least one of them, and take a couple other prospects out of there, and it would have been a nice deal. Then you got Michael Bunting. Like I know Pittsburgh was wanting their NHL ready roster player, but again, these Toronto players, and then you sign Noah Chari in the offseason. Like, what is your obsession with these washed up Toronto players, man? You know, and then conditional
Yeah. Well,
picks.
it's
Like people were
Dubas.
throwing
It's
conditional
Dubas for
picks,
sure.
and I'll get to that one sec with my little rant here. What is with it wasn't Pittsburgh, just Pittsburgh, but everyone was throwing around conditional first and seconds and yada yada, like just left, right, and center, like it was trendy. Like the first could turn into a second. Like, dude, Pittsburgh got fleeced a little bit. Like, okay, they're only getting Jake Gensel. Sure, Carolina's going to do their deep playoff run, but like you hardly get any great prospects in that deal. But you also like didn't get that great of a pick. That's a conditional. And now you've pissed off Sidney Crosby of all people. There was actually an interview today with him, kind of throwing some shade at management, saying, well, how do you feel about this, in his interview? And he's like, oh, that's a question for management. Like, I don't really give a shit, dude. Like, you just traded away my best friend, my best winger I've had throughout my entire career, other than Mark Recchi. Not Pascal Dupuis. I mean, he was pretty good, but he wasn't that
Oh,
great. And then
Dupuis
like
was good. But
James
Chris
Neal.
Kunitz.
Chris Kunitz, James Neal, but it's like Jake Gensel really stood out of the crowd because he had multiple 13 games. 13 games. I told Riley this the other day. The Penguins in 2013, like one of the most flawed trade deadline acquisitions because they played Danny Balsma, the head coach at the time, played him on his wrong wing, and that really fucked up his point production, and they didn't utilize him correctly, and they were promised a cup that year.
Yeah.
So love Jerome McGinley, but Pittsburgh did not really use his time there well, and that was a
Jerome
big piss
McGinley
off.
is the Corey Perry of old. All he did was losing when he went to teams. Lost in the
Then he went to
Cup
Colorado,
final,
LA, Boston.
traded to the destined Penguins, traded to the destined Bruins, traded to the destined Kings. Man,
I don't think Kings were destined, but I think he was almost guaranteed with Boston. Like when he was in Boston and Pittsburgh, it was pretty much like, oh, he has a chance to win his cup.
Yep.
And then not.
Like it's just, it is what it is at the end of the day. Like Kyle Dubas, like, and then he trades away Chad Ruedel. Okay, he's a Stanley Cup champion. Okay, but he's not much of a point getter. He's just a fringe third pairing. And then Ty Smith finally gone. Don't have to worry about that John Marino fucking trade no more.
No, now you just
haunting
have
of that. Yeah, the haunting of that.
I guess, yeah.
Kyle Dubas is just failing miserably as a general manager. People are out for his head right now. It's just accept the rebuild. Stop with this. You need to win now. It's over. You're done. Start selling and just let's build for the future before the dark ages come in because you guys are done. Accept it. I know there's fans out there will say, oh, you're not a believer. No, you need to accept reality, dude. You guys are the oldest team in the NHL. Send Sid to a contender, okay? The time is over. Time to build for the future. Stop pretending like this doesn't exist. And it's just showing. The day that Jake Gensel got traded, they got pumped 6-0 by their divisional rival, Washington Caps. And that just put a sour taste in everyone's mouth. And I hope Kyle Dubas is gone at the end of the year. I'm tired of, his fraudulent, oh, I'm a great general manager. Like, what do you have to accomplish there, buddy? Erik Karlsson's deal?
There's no way.
Erik Karlsson's contract? Horrendous. And he's got 15 power play assists. That's it. That's the only notable thing about Erik Karlsson this season. He leads the team in power play assists. I'm done my rant. I can't.
I got to play devil's advocate a little bit against you, only in the fact that, let's just put it this way, straight. If Jake Gensel wanted to stay in Pittsburgh, he would have had a contract signed. He left it where he had no contract signed on trade deadline day. He could have signed something. And yes, maybe they were lowballing him, and yes, maybe it wasn't working out. But the two sides couldn't come to an agreement, and then it came down to business. Pittsburgh's got to get something for him.
Well, I mean, right? You can only do so much as a player, right? Like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to go off a little bit here, but like, when you get swept by the Islanders, a couple years back, okay, you lose a star goalie in Matt Murray to injury and personal reasons, and then you got to bring up your new starter in Jari, and you've lost Fleury, and then and then after they almost repeated, but they got bounced by the Capitals and then the Rangers, and it's like that should have been your sign that you guys are falling apart. You guys couldn't compete still, you know. And then all these like old veteran acquisitions, like yes, they have experience, but like the game's getting faster, and you got to start producing with your young talent. And then they're trading them away for like bags of peanuts. And it's like, why the hell are you even drafting him? I swear, if Pittsburgh lets Braden Yeager and Owen Pickering rot in the AHL Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, that is it. Broads.
Well, they'll be up. Those two will be up next year. But also in Dubas's defense with Carlson, remember that it was mentioned that the Calgary Flames leadership group wanted Erik Karlsson. They wanted Dubas to add him. It was mentioned that Crosby and those guys, they wanted Dubas to find a way to add Karlsson to the team because they felt he could help them get better this year.
Well, when he's coming off his like 100-point season, right? You'd think you're getting this. Erik Karlsson's an awesome player, person on and off the ice. Love the guy, but his fit with the Penguins just isn't it though. You know what I mean? Like he came off his Norris Trophy winning season. Awesome. We thought we were getting that, but we haven't, right?
He can't play on a team where he's not the only
The
good
number
defenseman.
one. Exactly. It's Crystal Tang's show.
But at the same time, too, like, so the players are kind of at fault too for wanting this trade. But do you think Kyle Dubas would make that trade today if he knew it would have cost him Jake Gensel? Do you think he would have added Erik Karlsson, knowing
Dubas doesn't seem like a guy that he knows what's going to happen in the long run.
True.
Well, and that was the same mindset in Toronto, right? Like, signing John Tavares for that ridiculous amount of money that he's not worth in today's day and age, and then bringing all these guys and just cap strapping you to no end. Like he's like, we're all in win now mode. Okay, it's evident. Everybody is. Every team is. They want to win, but it's like when you financially ruin your team and you're like, oopsie, like, yeah, we're in trouble now. You're gonna start paying for it, and I don't mean by financially. Your team's gonna suck, man. And this is the reality.
Yeah.
Like, this offseason is gonna be a big cornerstone of moving forward. Like, what would you guys do? Would you move on from Malkin as well, Letang? Like, just they should be getting assets for them within the last 2 years of their contract here.
Yeah,
Let
I heard
these
Ryan
guys
Whitney
win.
say that they never should have re-signed Malkin.
Yeah.
They should have saved that cap just because he's so much worse.
Honestly, Malkin, out of respect for Crosby and Letang, they'd be gone. At this point in their careers, they'd be gone.
Yeah, and that's what Whitney said too. He said Crosby would hardly be the first superstar to get traded to a second team. It's nice to retire with the team you're drafted by and all that, and after all the success they've had, but Crosby is playing like a 28-year-old, and he's only got 4 years left. Like,
yeah,
he's gotta chase his own personal goals over a rebuilding Pittsburgh. Like, there's nothing more he can do there. He's won, 3 cups. He saved the franchise from relocating. Like, he's done everything he can to help the city of Pittsburgh. It's time for Pittsburgh to realize, let him go chase this one more time. Because Sidney Crosby with a 50% contract retained at $4 million cap hit. Are you kidding me? Who's not taking Sidney Crosby at $4 million? You give 3 first-round picks for Sidney Crosby at $4 million.
Oh, exactly. And you know what? I bet Vegas would have found a way to get him.
Oh, for sure.
like there was a report today that Kyle Dubas has expressed interest towards Sidney Crosby one-on-one, like talking about extension talks. But then there's also been other reports, but like, believe what you want from what the media is saying, but like then there's talks if he's unhappy because Jake Gensel is getting traded, and then I personally would just love to see Crosby just go win somewhere else. Let him finish his career off strong. Do the guy
somewhere else, but do you accept it anywhere other than Colorado?
Biasly, no. I want him to go play with
Bruins acquire Sidney Crosby for 2 first-round picks and Jake DeBrusk during the offseason. And now Sidney Crosby is a Boston Bruin.
Okay, so little fact for you then. He wouldn't be too upset about that because his other friend, the three of them are from Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia. McKinnon, Crosby, and Marchand. So the most realistic thing, though, is he is best friends with Nathan McKinnon, and Colorado would be the perfect fit for Crosby. Is it likely? Probably not, but it's just a dream scenario that would look awesome. They would tear it up on Team Canada
at
the IHFs in June.
It's perfectly likely, I think. I mean, you guys literally just traded Johansson away from
Shed Gabe's contract.
You have $2 million in cap space left this year, and then the cap goes up $4 million. That's $6 million. They save 50%. You give them 2 prospects in a first, or whatever, like your best 2 prospects in a first, whatever Colorado's got. They get Sidney Crosby, and I think it works out. And Pittsburgh would probably prefer that because then he's in the West, not in the East, right? So,
Callum Ritchie, Jean-Luc Foudy, the first. Done deal, boys.
Yeah, but
true.
I think if it was up to him, he'd probably pick Colorado just because of McKinnon. But his favorite teams growing up was the Red Wings and Canadiens, so it's hard to say if any of that would ever be possible.
Well, if he wants to win,
realistically, I was going to say realistically, Detroit would be the better option there.
Yeah. I remember I attended my first Penguins game back in 2014. I have never heard an arena boo a player so much at the Joe Louis. Like, I had like a lot of people. I was out in the smoking section with my family. It was my 2 brothers and my dad, and the 3 of them were smoking, and I was just standing there, and like so many hecklers because I had my 2012 2013 black home Crosby jersey on. I was getting a lot of shit from the fans in Detroit. Like, they are nuts. Love hockey, love Motown, love Hockey Town, but dude, they despise Crosby. Only probably because of the back-to-back appearances in the Cup Finals when they were playing Detroit.
Beat them one and then lost to them one. So
yeah, and it was still like 5 years, later, kind of fresh still. But I don't know. Colorado though, we'll take them.
Yeah. Big trade in Pittsburgh's arguably second biggest rival, I guess, Washington Capitals. They trade Evgeny Kuznetsov to the Carolina Hurricanes for a 2025 third-round pick. So Washington will retain 50% on Kuznetsov's deal for the next 2 years at his $7.8 million AAV. So he's at like $3.5-4 mil. But I don't know, Gensel and Kuznetsov, that's a pretty good turn if Kuznetsov actually plays good, because he's been terrible this year. So if he plays good, Kuznetsov and Gensel in Carolina could work out in their favor.
Well, we were also talking about this last night, though. Like, Kuznetsov was just happy to play hockey. He didn't care if he got sent down to the minors or anything. He's bettering himself. He's taking the mature approach, and he's just happy to be playing hockey still. So, I think maybe in Carolina, with the Charlotte Checkers, if he's still in the AHL, sure. He's just still going to love to play hockey, and that's good for him. I think he'll fit right in with Carolina.
I did see the funniest thing. I doubt this is true, but it was saying like Kuznetsov basically like G-manned the Hershey Bears so hard. He told the bus to pull over, called a helicopter, got helicoptered to an airport, and then flew to Carolina. That's probably fake, but I was like, that just sounds like something Kuznetsov would do. Just hops off a bus and get me out of here, boys.
Big baller move.
Yeah. But now Ovechkin has 0 Russian buddies left. They're all gone.
Yeah, they're all in Calgary.
Yeah. A lot of them are in Calgary. You guys are just collecting Russians. It's a good thing to do. Tampa did it. Tampa does it still. But
you know what would have been nuts if they had a trifecta of Russian players in Washington. If they want to keep Ovi for the last remaining years of his contract, they should have gotten Malkin, kept Kuznetsov, and they had Ovi. Could you imagine
honestly,
that?
They had Orlov, they had
That's
Samsonov.
so bad, though. Like, Washington Capital, the Washington Capitals, where the president resides, with a team full of Russians.
Yeah.
Could
America's
you imagine?
most hated country.
Yeah, could you imagine like the hatred Washington would have right now? You guys are pro Russia? Like, oh my god.
You never hear the end of it.
Calgary's pro Russia.
Apparently.
Calgary's over here trying to make a bid for their team to be inserted in the Olympics as Russia. Just insert
Probably.
Calgary Flames.
Yeah, you just see out of nowhere Ovechkin like, I want to end my career in Calgary. Yeah, traded.
What a deal. Breaks a goal scoring record with you guys. You guys get all the memorabilia, all the merch, all the accolades in the history books.
Wins a cup.
He might have played with Washington for his whole career, but he beat Gretzky's record on the Flames. So it would literally be like the Battle of Alberta, Ovechkin, best Gretzky. Like, it would be a huge talking point. And it would be like, who are the Washington Capitals again?
And you know what? Number 8 would be retired.
It would be right away. Like, yep, there goes number 8, right beside Lanny, number 9. Done.
That would be a big story. Could you imagine?
How does a guy not break Gretzky's record though, and you don't put him in the rafters? Like, he plays one game for you, breaks a record, and you're like, yeah, he's going to the rafters for that one.
Dude, and he's been tearing it up again in the second half of this season. He's getting a lot of goals again now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had a very quiet, slow start, but now he's been really picking it up again. He's finding his game again this season. So, fuck. Go, Ovi, go, man. Break Gretzky's record. Do it.
He hit 240 now.
Maybe he just wanted to show the world that he's, still human. He's like, I didn't want to be too nuts.
Yeah.
Right?
Can't break it just yet.
Yeah, his stick actually had to start cooling down with his little celly. You know, it was not just metaphorically. It really had to cool down because he's just scoring way too much.
True. Back to Toffoli, who we were talking about. He does get traded to the Winnipeg Jets in exchange for a 2025 second-round pick and 2024 third-round pick. And the Devils have retained 50% of Toffoli's contract in the deal. So there we go. Calgary got free assets because New Jersey no longer has Toffoli.
Yeah, and Toffoli's just collecting Canadian teams like Infinity Stones here.
That's 4 out of 7.
Yeah.
It's just only Edmonton, Ottawa, Toronto. That's all he hasn't played for.
Oh, even New Jersey, like, man, they're just selling too. Like, I get you got a good return for Toffoli, but you guys are 8 points out of a playoff spot. Like, Pittsburgh, 10 points. Like, your season's done. You guys' season's done. Like, you expect to win?
Can you say they got a good return for Toffoli? Got a second and a third.
I would say they lost
the second,
Sharon Govich,
probably.
who's having a breakout year for nothing.
Yeah, pretty much.
You guys are laughing, though. You guys are laughing because Sharon Govich has turned it up a notch, which is cool to see. But sucks to suck for New Jersey.
Toffoli was hot at the beginning of the season and then just died down.
Yep. You know what sucks is that in New Jersey's pursuit to try and get Markstrom, their biggest trade asset, didn't want to go to Calgary. In Toffoli.
No, I'm sure, yeah.
Reunion.
Yeah, that bridge burned.
But they should have tried to do something. Like, Calgary should have tried to get in on this with Winnipeg. They should have done Markstrom to New Jersey, Toffoli to Calgary, then Toffoli flipped to Winnipeg, Winnipeg sending assets to Calgary.
Monahan back to Calgary. Just kidding.
Monahan back to Calgary. But, like, there could have been some trickery done here. Like, Cole Perfetti back to Calgary, something like that. Not bad.
One of my favorite deadline deals out of everything we discussed, I think Shawnee Monahan going to Winnipeg. He is already killing it for his new team in Winnipeg. Like, dude, he's already fit in quite well. I think that was one of the best acquisitions by a team by far. Like, he's already found his groove and he's still scoring at an unreal pace this season. Yeah,
I love it.
Classic Monahan again, back in the day.
Yep.
So
he's so good. They just gave up on him too early.
He's a great player, man.
I mean, I didn't even know this guy was still playing hockey, but Malcolm Subban was traded today from the who did he go from? From St. Louis to Columbus, and he will just play in the AHL. So good for Malcolm. I did the funniest tweet of the day goes to Columbus Blue Jackets, who said thanks for everything, future considerations, in like a big trade thank you post. So good for Columbus for keeping the light side. It seems like they've turned a corner. They're actually having reasons to like them now. And then one of my all-time favorites, Big Rig, Pat Maroon, goes to the Bruins from the Minnesota Wild for a conditional 2026 sixth-round pick. And oh my goodness, did people ever blast that trade? Not in a bad way or a positive way, but they couldn't believe that Pat Maroon is going to be playing for the team that Jack Edwards announces for. Because remember when Jack Edwards had to apologize to Pat Maroon for just calling him fat and like blasting him during a game, and he got in a whole bunch of trouble. So now they're like, well, who had Jack Edwards and Pat Maroon being in the same organization on their bingo card? And Marchand and Maroon. Like, Marchand and Maroon have some of the nastiest back and forths in NHL history when the Lightning played the Bruins. Like, the stuff they can't take back. Like, you can't take back saying how ugly Marchand is and going at Pat for being fat and like barely being an NHL forward. Like, stuff you can't take back. And then like, yeah, Marchand like saying, you know, he's won cups and Maroon's like, I've won 3. Like, just the battle that they've had. And yeah, now they got to be teammates. Welcome to the NHL, the most messed up place in the world. The only captain of the day that was traded, or this whole time, Kyle Okposo to the Florida Panthers for Kalle Sialan, I believe is how it's pronounced, and a conditional 7th-round pick for the Florida Panthers. So another ad for Florida. They get Tarasenko and Okposo. And you know what? Okposo's slow. He's not that good, but he will fit in on a 4th line. He will be just a little bit less quality than Claude Giroux for Florida.
You know what I'm thinking now with the vacancy in Buffalo? I feel it's going to be either Darlene or most likely Alex Tuck taking the captaincy. Maybe Tuck because he's a hometown guy in Buffalo, but I feel like those two guys are the front candidates to be the next leadership guy in the room.
I'm going Tage.
Tage Thompson, okay.
I think they give it to Tage.
I go Darlene.
Think so?
Rasmus, okay.
Sometimes I just find the young defenders they don't give the captaincy to, they give it to young forwards.
But think of Quinn Hughes, though, right?
I know, and he's a rare exception, but Quinn Hughes and Rasmus Dahlin. Yes, Rasmus Dahlin makes the money of Quinn Hughes, but the skill level, there's quite a gap between Dahlin and Hughes. Like, Hughes is by far just one of the best defensemen in the league. But who else was going to be the leader of that team? Miller, who yells at people.
Or
Pedersen, who wasn't committed.
Do they still have Skinner?
Which Skinner?
Jeff.
Oh, yeah. Yep, they do.
He could be captain.
Could be him. I just feel like he's trade bait, but could be. Like, for next year, he could be trade bait. But, I mean, I would pick him. I think Jeff Skinner's a great guy. I've liked him his whole career.
Oh, in Carolina, he was a beast.
Rookie of the year, 7th overall pick. I forget who else was drafted that year. What year was he? 2010? Was that Taylor Hall's year, or was he 2011?
Taylor Hall was 10.
No idea.
No, sorry, it was Skinner. It was Skinner 10.
Oh.
I know Hall was 10. Skinner might have even been 09. No, Tavares definitely won Rookie of the Year in 09. There's no way Tavares did. But, yeah, either way, it was 10 or 11. I think it was 2010. So he won at Taylor Hall's rookie year? Crazy. I didn't even think about that. I believe this is the final trade for your Avalanche, Dallas. I think they just did a minor deal in sending Ben Myers to the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for a 2024 5th-round selection. So just either a roster move because they were one over the roster, or whatever.
Just another move by Chris McFarland. He's just sending another AHL Colorado Eagles defenseman off for another, stock the cupboards type of move. So yeah, just it's minor, but it's good though. You get a mid-tier draft pick, so all in all, it's not bad.
Yeah. You mentioned this one already, the Rudweedle trade. He was sent to the Rangers for a 4th-round pick in the 2027 NHL draft. So that made it with Gensel and Rudweedle traded. That made it only 4 remaining players from the 2017 Stanley Cup run: Rust, Crosby, Malkin, and Letang. That's it.
Yeah.
From that team.
Riley, I'm surprised like Ricard Raquel wasn't traded today, or you know what I mean,
Yeah.
like another $5 million guy. Like
I think it's because they locked him up to a contract.
to the term, I don't think a team wanted to take on the term. Then yeah.
No. This one surprised me. Like, Jason Zucker was in talks for a while now, but the fact that he went to Nashville for a 6th-round pick, the 6th-round pick was just because there was no retention of contract. So Nashville takes on Zucker's full contract. But I was surprised. It's a good ad. I've always liked Zucker. I think he's a solid player. But yeah, for a 6th-round pick to Nashville, that's a great pickup for a team that's looking on the rise. I think this was the last trade for Minnesota. Oh, no, they do have the other one too. But one of Minnesota's final trades, Nick Petan to New York Rangers again for Turner Elson. And Turner Elson's not a bad player, so I think that's a decent flip. Kind of 4th-line guy for 4th-line minors guy. Both of them kind of the same thing. But Turner Elson's definitely younger, I believe.
Turner Elson's pretty old.
Petan's 29. Is he 29, Elson, you think?
Elson could be in his 30s, dude.
Fair enough. Well, then it was an old depth guy for an old depth guy.
Elson was a Red Deer Rebel just before Nuge was.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we're talking 30. Yeah, you're right. And then I didn't see this one coming at all, but the San Jose Sharks acquired Klim Kostin from the Detroit Red Wings for Radim Simek and a 2024 7th-round selection originally owned by the Devils. So kind of wild that came out of the blue as well, but Klim Kostin to the Sharks. So good to see for him. And then here's where New Jersey, just out of nowhere, rebuilt their entire net minding today, not adding Jacob Markstrom. They start off with adding Jake Allen from the Montreal Canadiens for a 3rd-round pick, and just a conditional 2025 3rd-round pick, sorry. And it turns out that the condition is that Jake Allen needs to play 40 games total on the season for it to be triggered, and he's pretty close, so it sounds like he'll get that.
Hey, Washington's just doing this.
Yep.
Because they had Samsonov in net and they had Vitek Vanacek, and they got rid of both of them, and they've been very bad since departing from Washington. And then they're like, thank God we're not stuck with that.
True.
I mean, same with Holpe, you could say.
True.
Yeah.
But Braden Holtby out of the 3 of them was like their core goalie, though, once upon a time.
No, I know, but like they had those goalies in their prime, and then Toronto had Samsonov for 1 good season. I think Vitek Vanacek even had 1 good season with New Jersey, and then just done.
Yeah. But you also got to mention, too, though, that Washington fell into the Stanley Cup trap because they signed Darcy Kemper from the Colorado Avalanche, and that really hasn't worked out either in their favor.
Trade value just went skyrocketed.
Kemper's?
Yep. No, after winning the Cup, with Colorado.
Oh, yeah. So adding him in free agency because they outbid everyone because Colorado couldn't afford to outbid for him. And then look at what Colorado does. They add Georgiev. And
stud.
Yeah. He's playing way better than Kemper is in Washington. You mentioned Eric Johnson earlier. You're right. He played 1 game with Bowen Byram, and then he was traded to Philadelphia for a 2024 4th-round pick. So just kind of a minor deal, but a good veteran for Philadelphia to get. I bet they were happy with that. And then the Flyers also trade Wade Allison to the Predators for Denis Gurianov, which I think is a great pickup for Philadelphia. Denis Gurianov can be a pure sniper and great depth scorer. So
He was insane for Dallas in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Machine.
After that, the Winnipeg Jets acquired defenseman Colin Miller from New Jersey for a 4th-round pick in the 2026 NHL draft. So Winnipeg, in this trade deadline period, they added Monahan, Toffoli, and Colin Miller. Great ads for Winnipeg now that this is their last trade. Just pretty good, solid ads for their team. Can they do it out of the West, though? We will wait and see. Columbus does kind of a fringe NHL defender trade. They send Andrew Peeke to the Boston Bruins for Jacob Zaboral and a 2027 third-round pick. Seems like as soon as one team sent a 2027 pick, everyone was like, oh, yeah, we can do that. And they just fired them out because they've been rampant today. So any thoughts on that trade? Just kind of a minor defender deal. Peake's been kind of in the trade talk forever. But I will say this. Columbus has been talking about trading a defenseman because they have too many defensemen. Well, they got a defenseman in return. So I don't really know what their goal was here.
Yeah, and I think Boston now has one remaining guy from that 2013 first round 3 players thing they got.
Just
Anders
right?
Bjork is gone, Zaboral's now gone, and now DeBrusk.
It was Senshin, wasn't it? It was
right,
Senshin.
Yeah.
Senshin, DeBrusk, and Zaboral. I still can't believe that Zachary Senshin was in people's 6th round and they took him 1st round. What a miss. And then Zaboral, same thing, wasn't even the best defenseman available. And you can defend DeBrusk. He's been a pretty good player throughout his career. Inconsistent, but better than most players in that draft.
Better the 3 that they drafted.
Yeah, definitely better than the other 2. Tampa's 2nd trade. I'm back, baby. I get to go again. They get Matt Dumba and a 7th just in exchange for a 5th-round pick in 2027. So I'm happy, like realistically, a free player. We get a 7th and the player, and we only give up a 5th in 2027. Honestly, not at all cost. Let's just add him, see what can happen. And I'm pumped. I'm pumped for Matt Dumba to be here. And, he just literally ran over Bedard the other day twice. So now, yeah, Duclair and Dumba. Those are two great pickups for Tampa in my eyes.
I mean, I've always liked Dumba. There's a time I thought Dumba was an elite defender.
Yeah, and he was. He really was.
I think being on a good team like Tampa, I mean, hey, he might come out and shine for you guys, right? So,
true.
Hopefully, you see good things out of him, and definitely Duclair. I mean, another solid pickup, like you said.
And the weird trade of the day was the fact that Eric Brandstrom was announced going to the Lightning, and then it just disappeared. Off
just
the face
teased
of the
it a little bit, eh?
Yeah, it was like it's out there. Hearing Eric Brandstrom going to the Tampa Bay Lightning, it was at 10 a.m., 9:30 a.m., and then boom, just silence. So something happened. Something fell through on that one that didn't work out. Whether it was all of a sudden Dumba became the priority and it took a while to figure that trade out, I don't know. But it was weird. I was pumped for a while because I didn't hear that nothing happened on Brandstrom. All I heard was Tampa was getting Brandstrom. So I was like, oh, sick. We got Brandstrom and Dumba and Duclair. I was like, awesome. What a good transformation. And then I was looking where's the Brandstrom trade? And I couldn't find it. And I was like, oh, it didn't happen. Vegas Golden Knights doing their thing where they just come out of nowhere, grab a player that nobody expects them to be getting, and they get Tomas Hertl. I guess I should say it right. They get, and they got a good return. Not only did they get Tomas Hertl with 17% retained salary cap, they also get a 2025 third-round pick and a 2027 third-round pick with him.
San Jose is literally just giving him on a gold platter, basically.
Now, they did give up 2 first-round picks in 2025 first-round pick and David Edstrom, who was their 2023 first-round pick. So it did cost them 2 first-round picks, like, for sure. But they got
But he-
2/3 and a player signed for 6 more years with a lesser cap hit retained. Like,
But here's the problem, though. You see, right? If they're gonna get San Jose first round pick, or no, wait, sorry, Vegas gave up a first round pick.
Vegas gave their
2025.
2025. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. They'll probably still be good, so maybe like a bottom 25 pick, but yeah, I guess nothing too fantastic.
And it was supposed to be Calgary's, but it's not. I just don't know why. I guess it was smart. Like, now looking at how this turned out, like, I guess it was smart on Conroy. He's like, okay, if you don't trade that 2025, I want it. But if you do trade it, I'll take your 2026. I still think the fact that he settled for 2026 when there were probably better
When
deals
their
out there
24 is still on the table.
yeah, kind of sucks. But that, like, let's just
But
put
you
this
know,
in perspective.
you know what? Vegas probably had an argument in the point where, what if Hannafin doesn't re-sign?
Exactly.
Then at least
Which
we
is-
have a first round right away.
Exactly, but I just and obviously here's the thing. Obviously, Vegas really has their eyes set on like 2 or 3 guys this draft. For them to still have that pick and just throw away next year's and the year after, whoever's in this draft, they have a like dead set decision whether they're going to trade someone to move up or whatever. Like, they have someone in this draft that they do not want to miss out on. Columbus, another trade, and the Rangers. The Rangers just kind of piled it up at the end with the Blue Jackets as well. Jack Roslovic traded to the Rangers. The pick is a 2026 conditional 4th round pick, but it does say, to be clear, the pick coming to Columbus from New York for Jack Roslovic is in 2024. It's a 4th, becomes a 3rd. Okay, so it is a 4th, not a 6th or 2026. 2024 4th, not a 2026 4th. Sorry. I had 2 snippets there that were conflicting each other. Minnesota's final trade, Connor Dewar. I love Connor Dewar. I wish that I knew he was available for Lightning or something, especially for the fact that they only paid the Leafs only paid a 2026. Oh my goodness, zoom in. 2026 4th round pick for Connor Dewar. So I was like, dang. The fact that Brandon Duhaime got a higher pick than Connor Dewar did was kind of a shock to me. But I would have loved to add this kid. And they also got a 4th round pick and Dmitry Ovechkinov, or Ovechnikov. Yeah, something like that. Whatever his name is. And then the Flames, adding to their Russian dealings, get Nikita Okodiuk for a 2024 5th round pick. So I don't know what their goal is with that. Just out of nowhere for San Jose, they just threw that in there.
I mean, it just seemed like they were loading up on their defense.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I mean, they got a lot of prospect forwards that have obviously made it exciting to watch Calgary hockey again as of late. So I think adding D-core is fine with the direction they're going.
True. And then here is the back half of the change up of New Jersey's goaltending crease. San Jose trades Capo Kakinen to New Jersey for Vitek Vanacek. That is a tongue twister, those 2 names together in the same sentence. So Vitek gets to start in San Jose, basically, and Capo Kakinen gets to back up Jake Allen in New Jersey. And then also Buffalo traded Devin Cooley to the San Jose Sharks, who's a goaltending prospect as well. So San Jose traded for multiple goalies, New Jersey traded for multiple goalies, and Columbus traded for a goalie, but none of the major name goalies outside of, I guess, Vanacek got moved today.
Not even poor John Gibson. Another year, another deadline pass, and he is still in Anaheim at the pond. They are
Yep.
doing him a disservice, and we all thought he'd, Steve Yzerman would want him, to pick him up in Detroit. We thought that'd be a destination that he could possibly go, but wow.
And not only
He
that,
did not get moved again.
the pain of not getting moved on deadline day and then losing 5-1 to the Dallas Stars on deadline day. Like, just thinking, man, I could not
A slap
be
to
here
the
right
face.
now. Just sucks. There was another goaltender trade from Pittsburgh to Florida. We had Magnus Hellberg go to Florida for Ludwig Weber and a 2025 seventh round pick to the Pittsburgh Penguins, which is a conditional pick. I don't know the conditions on that one, but that's what it is. So that was it. That is our NHL trade deadline 2024. Thanks for riding it out with us, people. We're going to break down a little bit more talk here quick, but holy cow. I'll count it later. I don't know what it's somewhere near 50 trades. 23 today alone. Just a wild event. Things went crazy. I do have the stats of the most teams by trade, most trades by team, just for today only. San Jose led with 5. New Jersey second with 4. Columbus, Minnesota, Buffalo, New York Rangers had 3 trades. Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Arizona, Florida, Boston, Nashville, Winnipeg all had 2. And Vegas, Anaheim, Detroit, St. Louis, Montreal, Tampa, Calgary, Toronto, Carolina, Washington, and Colorado all had 1 trade today. So just wild day in the trades. We started off Wednesday 5 trades, Thursday 10 trades, Friday 23 trades. So what is that right there? That's 38, let alone the trades that we talked about that happened earlier in the season. So I don't know. We can now kind of, I guess, go just free bomb now where we think. I mean, we wanted to talk a bunch about Vegas and what we think is going on there. So go for it, boys.
To me, Vegas definitely gets the A for fleecing the league as a whole. With their picks. I also think Winnipeg is probably a close second with how well they traded.
Mm-hmm. I know I've got Colorado. I probably have Colorado second. Vegas, Colorado, Winnipeg, especially in the West, and then probably Carolina. Carolina's right there too.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably put Carolina top 4, top 3 only if Gensel and Kuznetsov produce immediately. Yeah. I would say they get top 3 for me, but it's going to come down. Honestly, it's just going to come down to Kuznetsov, really, on how well he can perform still.
True. But yeah, he could be reinvigorated. You never know.
Yeah, but no, Vegas and Winnipeg for me for sure, hands down. Yeah, Colorado, Carolina are probably my 3-4.
You know, you got to give credit to Toronto too. Honestly, Joel Edmondson's a great ad. Connor Dewar is a good ad. Who else did they add just the other day? I forget. But the 3 players I saw that the 3 players they added are all in the top 60% of hits per game in the NHL. So they added some physicality to their team. Who was it?
Honestly, for me, I got Dallas, Colorado, and then maybe the Rangers, my top 3 at the best odds for the Stanley Cup this year. Those are some 3 very deep teams that I feel will go far this year, especially the Dallas Stars. I do not count them out. They were there 4 years ago against your Lightning, Riley, and they were so close to the ultimate goal. And obviously the roster is quite a bit different than the squad they had then, but yeah,
didn't we sweep them
in the bubble cup?
Yeah,
the bubble playoffs. Yeah,
or did they win 2? It was either 4 games or 6 games. I don't remember. I know Montreal was 5. No, Dallas was definitely more than 5. We didn't sweep them. I think it was 6. But either way, you're right. Dallas is still a great team. Look for our little boy Logan Stankoven. Get that guy.
They have one of the best prospects pools also in the league. behind, like Carolina, like behind Seattle and Columbus's farm team. So like they got a lot of good prospects coming up in the pipeline. So wait till they get their shot too. Dallas is going to have a formidable future.
True.
Christian Kyrou, Maverick Bork, Logan Stankoven now proving himself in the league in the NHL right now. So yeah, some great guys coming up.
Anything else, boys? Anyone else you want to discuss after this hectic week?
I don't even know. Like
Your Flames, even where
this
you think
year,
they're going?
well, I feel like the ownership and the general managers have two separate ideas, and I think it's going to cause a rift in the team, the locker room. I really hope that they can off Markstrom in the off season, and not just to like get rid of contract. I mean, just for like his benefit. Obviously, with how Calgary's going, like you look at this team now and how dwindled they are now. It's not helping him out in the long run. He's an older goaltender in the league. He's still showing that he's got it. He's got 2 years left. Could be the last 2 years that he's a good goaltender and has a good shot, right? So,
yep, for sure.
I hope for Markstrom's sake he gets out of there. But I do think Calgary has done the best that they could do with what they had. Yeah. So I don't know. I give Conroy props. I do believe he definitely could have got a better return for some of his trades, but again, you can't really judge until you see what the outcome is. And like I said, probably 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. True. Yeah, and I'm happy with the Lightning's ads. I mean, they were stranded. I'm not happy with the cap retention on Adam Henrique, the $1.4 million. I think that was kind of a waste when they could have added something else with that, just to get a 4th round pick. Like, it's a lot of money to take on for a team that kind of needs money. But at the end of the day, we got 2 good players, and the team's better off for it. And I hope it works out. I still don't see Tampa as a team that's going to win the Cup. If we get Sergachev back, Brisebois said he could come back. He did say definitely not beginning of playoffs. He said it would have to be later in the playoffs if he was even possible to. I don't know how you snap your leg in half and come back. That doesn't make sense to me, but apparently it's an option.
So, hey man, look at Aaron Rodgers, dude. That guy's built like, I don't even know. He probably could have almost made a comeback in the season.
I think if they would have let him, he would have. But they just didn't want him to get hurt for a losing season.
Fair enough.
But I think he was asking for sure.
No, bye Dallas.
We lost him. Must have died. Either way, I think that's pretty much it. Anyways, for our NHL trade deadline special. Oh, there he is. Welcome back, buddy.
Sorry, my phone died, so I had to go to my second.
No worries, it's all good. Yeah, I mean, we were basically wrapping it up. Anyways, that was pretty much it. I think not much else to add, unless you can for sure, Dally, if you want to. You can add anything on Colorado, anything on Pittsburgh, whatever you want.
I mean, I just wanted to add the fact, like, people are whining and complaining, like, okay, yes, Vegas is kind of sleazy with the deals they've been making, but legally, they're doing, like, smart moves. Like, okay, is it kind of sleazy that for the 3rd consecutive year that Mark Stone is on the LTIR and cap is freed up, but 19 other teams are doing the exact same thing. Not like in Mark Stone's case where he's like going out, just before the trade deadline, but use the cap availability relief to your advantage. If Vegas wants to, bulk up, so be it. Like, there's nothing stopping you, but it's still kind of sleazy, but you can't really complain for being smart about wanting your team to win. If anybody's really happy, it's management getting the deals done that they wanted, and it's also going to be their fan base, so you kind of really can't complain a whole lot. It still sucks, but they can do it. They technically can do it. There's no rule against it.
And Kelly McCrimmon today in that interview too, he announced what Stone's injury was. And man, it almost sounds made up. I was like, oh, like, is that really true? So they're saying he's out with a lacerated spleen. Like, there's no way to fact check that. There's no X-ray of a broken arm. Like, yeah, spleen. It's sliced. Can't play. Probably not till the playoffs, unfortunately. Like, just it's one of those ones that's like that. Back pain last year, back surgery. I mean, even if you have light back pain, you can ask for back surgery and get it, whether it's major or light. So I don't know. That answer was suspect.
Also, if you have a sliced spleen and you need stitches to get it back together, you almost don't want to play him in the playoffs because guy moves a certain way. You could, depending on what stitches they put in, you could just re-lacerate yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then I don't know.
Yeah, he even said this is one of those things that we don't know how long the recovery process is.
Yeah, it'll be finals, and he's gonna be like, "Guys, I'm good to go."
Like, here's the thing: if he does a Steven Stamkos, where it's like he comes back after being injured, he scores a goal in the playoffs, but then he actually injures himself again in that game, like Stamkos did, and then he never plays again. Fair enough, guy tried. Whatever, then yeah, he's actually injured. But if he's like game 6 of round 1, he's like, hi. By the way, we were about to lose game 6, and all of a sudden they win game 6 and game 7. He has 2 game-winning goals, and he looks like he hasn't missed a beat. It's like, okay. And the fact people are feeling so bad for anyone who wins the West right now because they're like, right now Vegas has slipped to the second wildcard spot. So they're like, congrats. Your consolation prize is the Vegas Golden Knights as your first round play. Like, whoever you are. Like, whether it's the Oilers or it's the Jets or it's the Stars or the Avalanche. Whoever it is, right now they're playing the Vegas Golden Knights. Which is ridiculous.
Sucks to whoever's going to be playing them.
Well, that'll be who, first or second wildcard spot? To get Vegas?
No, Vegas is in the second wildcard spot.
Oh.
They fell.
Oh,
they fell all the way to the second wildcard spot.
And who they got, Nashville just trailing them and stuff.
Yeah. No, Nashville passed them.
If it's Edmonton that they have to play, dude, that's going to be an insane first round of playoffs. And, that's sketchy for either team, right?
I'm just going to say this. That Edmonton fans cannot handle Vegas in the first round. Dude,
Connor McDavid's nuts, bro. He's gonna kill it, dude. This is their year, man.
Hey, he might. All right,
he can do it. He can take on the Knights himself. Fuck, no worries. Right?
Well, here's the thing: could McKinnon take on the Knights himself?
No, but he took on the Oilers just fine and kicked their ass.
Yeah, but so did Calgary and Vancouver.
And every other team since the 80s.
I can't even say Calgary because Calgary's lost 2 games earlier this season, so I can't even say Calgary. Calgary's got 1 win against Edmonton.
Fair enough.
But I don't know. I just think that a matchup between Vegas and Edmonton, that's you're almost gassed. Series 1.
Yeah. Probably whoever it's going to be. It's going to be a nightmare. They're probably not going to finish in a wild card spot because they're Vegas and they just added Noah Hannafin and Thomas Hertl and Anthony Mantha, and they're just nuts. But who knows? Other than that, though, thanks to everyone for listening in on our special edition episode. This is the first one we've ever done. I think we're going to do these for things like the draft, the Stanley Cup final, stuff like that. We're going to try and do more special event episodes. This was a lot of fun for us. We love breaking this down. We've been working really hard this week, keeping track of all these trades, talking to each other off air to make sure that we get things right and that we bring the best content available to everyone watching. So listen to this. Listen to episode 26, which me and Dallas filmed yesterday. Dakota wasn't able to be there, unfortunately, but we wanted to get one out before this. So we got episode 26 of Gameday Tarps podcast on Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. We're going to have this one follow it up right after on everywhere that you listen to podcasts, again, Spotify and YouTube as well. We're going to have this video, pictures laced throughout it with all these trades so you can see these, visualize them for yourselves as you're watching it. And yeah, thanks again to everyone for watching. Follow us on all social medias where we're at Gameday Tarps. And again, have a great night. Talk to everyone next week.